Here's a pitch on the way. He swings and fouls it off, and the man from Walla Walla will take that one home. Swing, there's a drive to left. That one is long gone.
Now, I might have been a small part of your life, but you've been a very large part of mine. And it's my privilege and honor to share with you the greatest game of all.
What is up, nation? AJ Reilly here with another episode of The Corner, ready to talk baseball. As much as it may upset me, let's talk about baseball. I got a good show on tap tonight about the complete buffoonery coming out of the commissioner's office, the rock bottom that the Detroit Tigers potentially have hit. Maybe they haven't. Who knows? That is yet to be seen. We're going to preview the upcoming series with the Padres, and we're going to also talk about the tipping point that this organization is at. But before we get to that, I do want to remind you to like and subscribe at our YouTube page for all of your Detroit Sports Nation content. Hit that bell, hit that thumb, hit that subscribe button, and also follow this show on Twitter, DSN at The Corner, for all of your Detroit Tigers and baseball news. So let's jump right into the leadoff, and let's talk about this clown, Rob Manfred, and his complete buffoonery that is just, in a way, ruining baseball. Some changes are probably going to be good. Like if they ever go to the robot umpires, that's actually a change I'm not going to be upset to see. But what I am going to be upset to see is the news that broke last week about ads being added to the baseball uniform. Completely unnecessary, complete stupidity, and it's par for the course for Bozo in New York. Complete stupidity. What's the point of adding an ad to the jersey? What's the point of cluttering up the beauty that can be these uniforms? Think about the Detroit Tigers home uniform, and think about it with the Little Caesars patch, because you know that's who the ad's going to be, on the sleeve, and a Little Caesars on the helmet. Think about the New York Yankees and their prestigious pinstriped uniforms, or the Dodgers out in LA, or the Cubs even in Wrigley Field, with some kind of stupid logo that has nothing to do with baseball on their uniform. Why are we doing this? Some changes are necessary. You think that they may need to ban the shift. I'm not necessarily a proponent of it, but maybe it'll be a good change. Add more excitement and offense and run scoring to the game, even though, the Toronto Blue Jays just dropped 28 on the Red Sox. I'm sure the Red Sox shifted a couple of times. Some changes may be good. The pitch clock, who cares? Robot umpires will probably make the game obviously more efficient because we won't have Angel Hernandez to worry about. But really, we're putting ads on uniforms now? The pockets of these owners and MLB are hurting that much that we have to sell space on uniforms to get a little bit of extra revenue? Come on. This is just dumb. It's just stupid. And it's completely unnecessary, but it's complete par for the course for the clown that resides in New York in the commissioner's office. This guy, man, it just seems like every decision he makes is the wrong decision. We're going to mess with these uniforms. We're going to put a stupid patch and a stupid decal on these helmets. Because why? Money? Man. When money is the end goal, things fall apart. If you are that desperate, why don't we worry about marketing our players a little bit better? Why don't we worry about getting our content out to as many people as we can, not blacking out regional games that people in their own cities that aren't wired, don't have cable, can't even watch their teams? Why don't we worry about fixing the bigger problems instead of adding decals to uniforms? It's just dumb. It's just dumb. And I don't even know what else to say. It's clownish, it's buffoonery, it's stupidity. And it's unnecessary. We're making a mockery of this beautiful game, especially when we start putting logos that have nothing to do with the game on the uniforms. But I expect nothing less from a guy that is just completely confused about what... I don't even know if he likes baseball, to be honest with you. Because if you liked baseball, you wouldn't be worried about changing it so much. That's my own personal opinion, publicly expressed. But it's just going to be par for the course of bad decisions for the clown, Rob Manfred, that runs the game of baseball. And it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. And I don't really know what else to say about it other than the fact that he's just dumb. Just completely unnecessary. I want to say that it's depressing. I want to say that it's an issue. Like, for the baseball, you know, there's certain aspects about me that are completely a baseball purist, that I get more into the analytical data. I'm not a huge proponent of average. I think it's just ridiculous. RBIs are a stat of opportunity. So that aspect of me is not baseball purist, but when we start messing with uniforms that have been constant and classic and we're adding stuff that is completely unnecessary, it's just a bad look. And it's completely unnecessary. So let's talk about something that also is depressing. The Detroit Tigers. 20 games under 500. And I told you before the All-Star break, when they ended the All-Star break mercifully with a rainout so they didn't have to lose another game to the Cleveland Guardians, the 15 games under 500 was about the max that you could get. Well, they didn't listen. They didn't listen at all. And they are now 20 games under 500, sitting at 38 and 58, dead last, rock bottom in the AL Central. Same record as the Kansas City Royals, who have won more games head-to-head than they have, so they are in the 4th spot. But this team is brutal. For all the hope that we potentially could have had going into the All-Star break and maybe things turning around in the second half, and there's no hope to be found. This is the same team. They can't hit the ball. Every pitcher that toes the rubber gets hurt at some point, except for Tarek Skubal. Please protect him. Put him in a bubble suit. But it's bad. It's bad. And it starts with the starting pitching. Look, I've said this, and I was talking to some people about this too, but when you are in the top of the first inning and you're throwing 20 to 30 pitches and your defense is standing there, that's going to affect the bats. The offense doesn't get a pass. They're bad too. I think they've now scored 2 or less runs in 45 of their games this season. But when you're standing out in the field for 30 pitches in the top of the first inning and you're already down multiples of runs after just 3 outs, that has a major effect on your offense. Michael Pineda knocked around, comes out of the game injured. Game 1 against the Twins. Ronnie Garcia throws 2 2/3 innings, comes out injured. Both of them going to the IL most likely for their second time around. Like, what is going on with this team? And at what point do the adults in the organization actually look at this and go, we've got a problem and something's got to be fixed? And I'm not talking about optioning young kids like a Cody Clemens to shake things up. I'm not talking about optioning Spencer Torkelson, who was struggling and needed to work on things, to shake things up. I'm talking about actually looking at the people in charge and shaking things up. Why does Coolball still have a job? Why does Avila still have a job? AJ Hinch is not blameless. I mean, he ran Robbie Grossman out in the 3-hole in game 1 against the Twins. Robbie Grossman cannot hit from the left side this year for whatever reason. And on the broadcast, they actually did a great breakdown of his swing mechanics from the left side to the right side, and he drops his hands way too much. He does not get in a good hitting position from the left side. But he's who we're running out in the 3-hole. Oof. You know, that speaks, and I'm going to continue to harp on this, that speaks a lot more to the roster construction of this team that lies on one man's shoulders than really anybody else's. Yeah, Coolball needs to answer for how bad this offense is. A.J. Hinch needs to answer for the development of these players. Sure. But the man that really needs to answer is Al Avila and the team that he has built. A team that maybe has 2 players on it that would crack the starting lineups of a good team. 2. That's it. Out of 9 position players. 2 that would crack the starting lineups of a good team. It's not good. It's not good. You know, I tweeted that they dangle this carrot of competitiveness out and then completely implode. The bullpen was shaky this weekend. But what do you expect? I have said this continually on this show, that if you continue to rely on this bullpen to get you consistently multiples of innings, you're going to have bad outings. It's just the law of averages. It's the way that it works. So, it's bad. 20 games under 500. And I just don't know if it's going to get better. And you know why? Because of who the Tigers play next. Tigers are welcoming the Padres for a 3-game series. Now, over the weekend, there was a graphic that was put out about the strength of the schedule for the remaining baseball season. The remainder of the baseball season. Tigers have the 11th hardest schedule for the remainder of the season. You think things are going to get better? I don't know, man. I really don't know. In this 3-game series, there's a lot of, questions about the pitching matchups. Sean Manaea, we know, is going to be starting Game 1 against the Tigers for the Padres. He's 5-4 with 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, walks about 3.4 per 9 innings, features a sinker, changeup, and slider. It's really good, and the Tigers are going to have a tough time. He's going to be facing off against Drew Hutchinson. We know that matchup for Monday. On Tuesday, Mike Clevenger, somebody that the Tigers should know well from his time in Cleveland, is going to be towing the rubber against to be determined. Now, I thought that Tarek Skubal would slot in here, but it looks like they might be pushing him back a day to start on Wednesday. So no idea who's starting for the Tigers on Tuesday. Clevenger is 2-3. He strikes out about 9 per 9 innings again, walks about 3 per 9 innings. He has a 6-pitch mix, but he primarily, about 75% of the time, relies on his 4-seam fastball and his slider. On Wednesday, the Padres have a to be determined. Now, again, all of this is subject to change, right? Pitching matchups could change. Somebody could get scratched. Somebody could get pushed back a day. We just don't know. But at the time of this recording, they are all to be determined. 1 for the Tigers in Game 2, 1 for the Padres in Game 3. And when we do previews, we normally break down what does this team do well and what don't they do well. But the reality is this team, the San Diego Padres, they're 54-43 in a tough division for a reason. They're a good team. I mean, you look at their starting rotation. We're talking about John Musgrove, Sean Manaea, Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, all names that are very, very good pitchers. We look at their offense. Eric Hosmer. Old friend Nomar Mazara, who's actually hitting the ball. Jurickson Profar. This is a really, really good team that's coming into Detroit this week. And it's going to be a very tall task for the Tigers to not lose 3 games again. Now let's talk about the Tigers for a second. Because the Tigers in their last 11 games, going back to the Kansas City series before the All-Star break, the last 11 games, Tigers are 2-9. They won once against the Royals, won once against the Athletics, and have lost every other game. This does not set up well. You could potentially be looking at 2-12 in their last 14. That 6-game win streak, as nice as it was, not great. Long time ago. One of our contributors here, said that the Tigers have been cursed by a haircut, and I'm starting to wonder if maybe that's potentially true. You know, you have a video going on the internet of you shaving Ramon Santiago's head after winning 6 games, which it was nice. I'm glad that you won 6 games in a row, but haven't really won much since. Won 2 games since. You lost those next 2 to the Chicago White Sox. You lost 3 of 4 to the Kansas City Royals. You lost 3 to the Guardians. You lost 1 of 2 to the Oakland Athletics. And you lost 2 to the Minnesota Twins. Not great. And this series against the Padres is not going to be easy. If you're having long innings as a pitcher, the offense is going to suffer. If you're having quick at-bats and not working professional at-bats in the count and trying to get on base any way possible and just continuing to just turn the innings over, then that's going to affect the pitching. You need a total team effort to beat the Padres. And I'm just wondering if that's possible. Because the Tigers are at a tipping point. We have harped on Avila a lot on this show because of the roster that he has built. We have also mentioned Chris Ilitch, who said that he was pleased with the progress of this team. But when we're looking at a potentially minimum of 15 games under 500 to end the season, I don't really see a way that they get over 15 games below 500. That's regression, Chris. That's not progression. Considering what they did in 2021 with a lesser roster, then you add names like Austin Meadows, who hasn't contributed. You add Javi Baez. You add Eduardo Rodriguez, who's been MIA, but finally has made contact with the team and should be back at the end of August. You're at a tipping point. And that tipping point is coming very quickly. August 2nd is the trade deadline. And you have pieces that could be moved. But do you have the right guy in charge to move those pieces? It would almost be better to fire Avila a week before the trade deadline and just not trade anybody. Yeah, sure, you'd lose out for pieces that are relatively valuable, like a Soto, like a Fulmer, potentially a Jimenez, maybe a Grossman. I mean, some team might take Grossman to be their 4th outfielder at this point. I'm not saying that it's a guaranteed thing. But you're at a tipping point. And the beauty of this is the fans know it. The question is whether or not Chris Ilitch knows it. I mean, they're talking about Tuesday night, the 26th, having a Fire Avila night with everybody bringing signs and chanting, which I'm all for. I've been on the Fire Avila train for a long time because he's just not built a good enough team. He's had 7 years to do it. Now, I question whether the effectiveness of a protest like that. I love the idea, and I think it's fantastic. And we wrote an article about it, and it was a tweet that went out and hopefully has gone viral at this point. But I wonder how much more effective it would be if it was outside the stadium instead of giving Chris Ilitch your dollars to get inside the stadium. Avila needs to go. Chris Ilitch needs to man up and make a hard choice. You cannot be happy with the way this team has performed. And don't give me the injury bug. Don't give me anything else. Do not let people talk you out of the decision that is so clearly right in front of you. Yes, we have had a disaster as far as injuries go with our pitching staff. But you know what? Even if the pitching staff was healthy, you got to score runs to win baseball games. I don't know that a healthy rotation makes this team much better. I mean, sure, they probably would be 10 games under 500 instead of 20. But this team can't score runs. And it's all built by one guy, Avila. So you tell me, Chris Ilitch, if this is progress. Fans, I hope you make your voices loud and known because they need to be heard. I don't know that they'll make a difference, but it needs to be communicated. Show up Tuesday night. Maybe stand outside the gates, don't go into the game, and just make your voices heard. But at the same time, you probably have an owner that's not even going to be in attendance. So who knows? Hope maybe you get some type of media coverage. I doubt it, but maybe. But it's time for a change. Because this is the tipping point. If you allow Avila to have any more control over this roster, you will continue to wallow in mediocrity, and you're going to get to a point where you've picked so many times in the top end of the MLB draft that at a certain point they may go, you don't need that pick. You're not even trying to win. I know that was part of the CBA discussions, not agreement, but discussions, was tanking teams. Not allowing teams to just tank for picks multiple years on end. And we've been doing it since about 2017. At a certain point, things need to change. And at a certain point, somebody needs to make a grown-up decision to put a good product on the field. Because right now, you do not have a good product. There are people responsible for it. And if anybody else was as bad at their job as these people are at their job, they wouldn't be around long. So let's make a change. Fans, make your voice heard. Show up for the Fire Al Avila night. Show up and be loud. Let's hope that it makes an impact. Because this team cannot continue to do what it has been doing and expect different results. That, by definition, is insanity. That's going to do it for us on the corner this week. I am AJ Reilly. I will see you before the next series with the Toronto Blue Jays, recapping this series with the Padres upcoming, and hopefully seeing a little bit better baseball. Until then, don't forget to check out our YouTube page. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. You can also follow this show on Twitter, DSN at The Corner. Until next time, as always, go Tigers.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a way. Yeah.